Hello and welcome to the Metapod podcast, the Pokemon podcast that revolves around the evolving meta. I'm Jake, that's Sean over there, back the dynamic duo here for you on the Pokemon TCG podcast. Sean, what's going on? I've heard you've been playing a lot of Pokemon Pocket lately.
I have, as my cat enters the frame.
Of course.
I've been playing a lot of Pocket. I have probably played more of it than is advisable or healthy, but I ain't got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
So let's play some Pocket. And also because I was living in Vancouver, I have not really had much of an opportunity to get a lot of the new Surging Spark stuff. Because singles are harder to come by, I have found. And also for ordering online, I feel more comfortable ordering it to my permanent residence.
Yeah, you don't have to pay the do you have to if you live in Canada and you order on TCG Player, do you have to pay an import or something? I'm sure the shipping is much higher.
It might be higher from American sellers, but I don't think I would have to pay any import, but I definitely I don't know. It's just it's an apartment thing where I'm I did have a key to the mailbox and probably it would have been fine, but I never know.
Yeah, it's gone with the wind, though. That's the old news, and we've got for you in this episode some new news. Some of it is good, some of it is not maybe so good, and some of it's also up for interpretation based on who you are. That's going to be the big thing. I am going to have, I'll just say it right now, I'm going to have a major problem with something, but for other people, it may be good. And we'll talk about what exactly, that means. Some people that maybe are a little bit more active in the Twitter scene may know exactly what we're talking about already. But in this, Sean, let's just go right into it. Let's go into the news. So the Pokemon Company ended up releasing a forum post. This is actually earlier today on Monday, so this is fresh. This is brand new news. They are making changes to the tournament structure in the middle of the season. So Sean, do you have some, because I have one big thing, and this is the only big thing that I really know. And it's the one thing that I have a problem with. So before I get into that big thing, is there any major points that you maybe want to bring up or something?
I mean, look, I think it's good to remind people maybe what prompted all of this, right? Because if you're not deep in the competitive Pokemon TCG community rant sphere, you maybe are not aware as to why there even needed to be changes. So what I'll do is I'll start by recapping that, and then we can sort of talk about just what Pokemon did, and then get into our thoughts. So
yeah, that might be good to avoid what's the stand for me. Anyways,
well, we can get up on that soapbox later, but what prefaced all of this was going into this season, Pokemon did make some major changes to the tournament structure in response to the fact that tournaments are more popular than they've ever been, right? And that means there are, many more people that are playing the TCG today than were playing 2, 3, 4 years ago in these regional style events. So we're talking 2,000 person events, 2,100 person events at a normal regional, even not even an IC. And when you have that many people playing, they typically have a number of rounds commensurate with the number of players. So in theory, the more players you add an extra round or two on, there's break points usually for the mathematics of it. But the reality was that you were getting into really long days where you'd have 9 rounds on day 1 of Swiss. You'd have a certain number of people who got the necessary match points to make day 2. And then you would usually have another 6 rounds of Swiss on day 2, followed by Top Cut if you make it, which could be up to another 4 rounds. So all in all, for a 2-day regional, you're looking at, if you go all the way to the finals, you're looking at 19 rounds of play. But from an organizer's perspective, even just 15 rounds to have to judge, manage, organize, figure out timing, which we all know that a best of 3 Pokemon TCG series, you are going to eat 100% to 120% of that round clock every single round.
There's always one person that goes into overtime, and then you have to get a judge involved in order to finalize the match, you know.
There's always one Snorlax stall player who is holding out for dear hope, despite having lost game 1, that they can take game 2 and force a tie.
Exactly.
And that round is going to go 70 minutes in a 50-minute round, every round. So, yeah. So, all that to say, they made the change this year to be 8 rounds for day 1 and to have an asymmetric cut in day 2 and have it be 18 points makes day 2. So you'd be 6-2 basically. I think there are technically other ways to get to 15, like
you can go 5-0-3, yeah.
Sure. But for the most part, you're like 6 wins and you're in. If you get more than 2 losses, you're out. They just, were hoping that once people went X3, they would start dropping because you can't make day 2, blah, blah, blah. But the problem that it created is fewer rounds means you would have more people, in theory, do really well on day 2, but still miss out on that asymmetric top cut.
Yeah, we talked about, I think it was Alex Szymanski. Yeah. I think we talked about it when it happened, but at a major regional recently with this change, like you said, squeaked into day 2 with that record and then went undefeated in day 2 and was not even considered. Like, I think mathematically had no way of making the asymmetrical top cut. So it was like, well, why did I play? So,
and that's really the root of the problem that Pokemon was supposed to address.
Yes.
Big hints there as to what happened, but supposed to address, because it's like, that was the outcry, which was, hey, if I make day 2, why even play if there's no shot of making top 8? You know what I mean? Like, what's the point of it all? If I make day 2 and I go undefeated and it means nothing, why am I here? So, Jake, how did Pokemon respond to that outcry I will say, the outcry comes primarily from very invested competitive players, which,
yes,
to be frank, is what those tournaments should be designed around. Like, you should design a competitive circuit around the people for whom the Pokemon TCG is the competitive, like, that's the thing for them.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was where the majority of your average, like me, who's rocking, some meme deck at an IC, is not really it's not gonna impact me, and I don't really care. But the majority of players you hear about and watch, that's who it impacts. So yeah, what did Pokemon do to address it?
Pokemon said in order to give more choice, this is a direct quote from the forum post that has this, and I'll link this as well in the show notes if you want to read up on this for yourself, because especially if you've been watching the video version, there's more to this article, right? Written forms and stuff like that. But we're kind of giving you the summary of what is going on. So they say, quote, in order to give more choice to the players to continue competing, even if they've already lost too many rounds to make top cut, we are lowering the required number of Swiss match points to qualify for Swiss Phase 2, which is another way to say Day 2, by 2 points. So you need less points now in order to make Day 2. Therefore, this is soapbox time. Therefore, you... Oh no, I lost my train of thought. Therefore, you have more people into Day 2, but because you didn't really change the part of the problem, which was making Day 2, but then going undefeated and missing out on top cut, even though you were actually perfect, right, in Day 2, they have now created a scenario where more people will have that experience, theoretically. Right? Of going undefeated and then missing top cut.
They're giving out more participation plus.
It's literally what it is. It's giving more participation trophies to people making Day 2. Like the stock of like, and okay, let me step back for a second, because we just made a dig right at participation points being for Day 2. I mean, it is, before we go too much further, it is totally okay if you go into a regional, if you go into an IC, whatever, and your goal is to make day 2, right? If your goal is to make day 2 and you rock day 2, right, this is an easier way to make that goal. That's for sure, because you need less match points now to make day 2. That's okay to have a goal. But from, like Sean was saying, the big competitive side, this doesn't make a lot of sense outside of that kind of participation notion. If that makes sense.
I mean, yeah, like to your point, right? Like the highly competitive outcry was largely based on why play day 2 if I'm mathematically eliminated from top cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like in theory, day 2 should be like to take the best players from day 1, which mathematically that is what you're doing, right? You're taking the best players, the cream of the crop, and saying, okay, let's have a second day where you only compete against other people at that level to truly determine who are the best 8 or whatever the asymmetric number ends up being of that group. And yeah, like allowing people to continue playing just because they did well day 1. And I'm like, to your point, no knock against if you make day 2. If you made day 2 at 6-2 in the old format, amazing. If you make day 2 at 5-1 in the new format, also amazing. Like those are still accomplishments in a 2,000 plus person tournament.
Yeah, especially if like that's your goal.
Yeah, like I'd be stoked. That said, though, it is kind of like, well, that's lovely, that's nice, but like I don't think that, I don't think that it will fix the problem. The one thing I will say it does fix, Jake, is before, because it was 18 points exactly, it effectively made ties meaningless.
Yes.
Because like if you go into this and you get one tie, then you effectively can't lose more than one game then.
Yeah, you have to go like 7-1-1.
Exactly. Or we're 6-1-1 or whatever.
Or whatever it is. Yeah. To your point, 6-2 is no longer a viable option. You have to go, something 1-1.
Yeah.
7-1-1.
So
or 6-1-1.
And I think that did make playing decks that are, single prizers or stall or control, any of those types of decks, maybe less viable or whatever. So I do think it makes a tie less punishing, because there probably was what ended up happening at regionals. I imagine there was a lot of like potential gentlemen's agreements going on at a couple of regionals where people were saying like, hey, before the match even starts, gentlemen's agreement to do X because ties are basically killers, right? Especially after you've had like 2 losses. So, and that can make for some really uncomfortable situations if somebody doesn't agree to follow through with that gentleman's agreement after the fact.
Oh yeah, I mean, I see on Twitter after every regional, oh man, don't talk to this guy. He didn't honor our gentleman's agreement, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, and like putting that onus between 2 players who are likely strangers is kind of awkward. So like, I do think that will make for a less toxic competitive environment. So like, for that alone, I will say 16 match points in an 8-round event, small applause there. But I think that the core that they need to address is everyone who makes day 2 should, in theory, have a chance at making top 8 if they perform well enough.
And especially
or asymmetric cut, whatever that number is.
And especially with this new mid-season structure, right? This mid-season change. Pokemon doesn't make mid-season changes often. Right. I don't know if, since Sean and I have been playing in the last 5 years, they've done this in the middle of the season. I don't recall. Maybe we could be wrong, but it doesn't happen often.
The only time I this is so out of the norm that it's unfair. The only time I think they've ever done anything is when they like change the CP requirements mid-season.
Oh,
but that was due to like the pandemic. So I'm like, all right, that's not even.
That was when like events weren't even being run. It's like
right. So I'm like, it's hard to compare. So.
So this change will go into effect Monday, the 17th for TCG and VGC competition for the remainder of the 2025 season, which is basically starting at Sacramento Regionals happening soon. And it's going to run through the 2025 World Championships in Anaheim. So they're not saying that it'll continue after the 2025 World Championships next year, but it is something that we're going to have at least for now for a while. I'm curious on what happens when people bubble out of like money, right? Because somebody at 521 made it in or something like that. I don't know. Like, I feel like this, I don't know if this is better. I think from the general consensus, like there's a lot of people that have reacted to it, like especially on like reply tweets. And Sean, you can't see it. I have it on screen. Like Andrew Hedrick says this is a slight improvement, right? But does not address the main issue of Swiss rounds not being enough of them, like you said, to determine, you know, an accurate top cut, even in like asymmetrical top cut. So it's this is a weird time. This doesn't solve the problem, says Aiden Cuss, another like top player. You know,
I will say this. I think there will always be, by nature, there will always be a bubble. There will always be people that are on the outside looking in, whether that's on the money or on the asymmetric cut or whatever. You can't solve that problem.
Yeah.
I think, however, though, if the intention of day two is for it to be a meaningful continuation, but distinct, right? It's not just that you have Swiss rounds that happen over 2 days and everyone makes it. The fact that you have a day two cutoff implies that, like, it's not a pure continuation, that there is like something meaningful that is occurring structurally. And so I don't, you know, I want to offer like Pokemon solutions for this, which will really, it comes down to time, organizers' time, judges' time, players' time. And there's only so many hours in the day, and you can't make regionals 3-day events like you can ICs.
They can't even stream the entire, you know, day one or day two because it goes so long.
So, I mean, look, if you want my opinion, I think they need to do something drastic. And I think this is going to be a wildly unpopular opinion, Jake. But I think the drastic change is, I think that they should make day one best of one.
I was going to mention something along those lines. I don't think you're too far out of left field on that take. I was going to say something about either changing the time structure, right? You know, we just can't spend almost an hour and a half for a round, right? In between like the actual slotted amount of time, like 55 minutes, did you say? 55, like we can't spend an hour for a round because, like you said, there's only so many hours in a day. If we just keep adding Swiss rounds, we're gonna run out of time in the day, right? A lot of these people are literally just working these events for like product, not actual like physical money, right? So it's like it's a really tough situation, I think, for tournament organizers and for Pokemon in general. In kind of making this decision and stuff, and I don't think it's as easy as people are saying. I just think like it's really weird when they talk about, you know, they literally say in the current format, it is possible that some trainers in Swiss day two could go undefeated, but overall their full event performance won't qualify for the asymmetrical top cut. And then they're like, by the way, now you need less points to make day two.
We're gonna have more people have the opportunity to have that experience.
It's like in this one paragraph, they literally say that. They literally say that in this one paragraph, and it doesn't fix anything. Right? It's just, it's so weird the way that this is worded and presented and stuff. Like if they just said, you know, if they had just said, hey, you need less points to make day two, right? Okay. Yeah, sure. Like that might ruffle some feathers, and I might still be like, well, what the heck, you know, on this podcast, but I wouldn't I wouldn't be as mad as I am right now. But it's just so weird. It's the participation trophy kind of thing. Like, I hate to say that because Sean, how many day twos have we made at a regional between the two of us?
I mean, I will say, Jake, under this new tournament structure, I theoretically would have made one day two.
Oh, so, yeah.
You know, I was 5-3-1, so with one less round, and that last round was a loss. So, like, in theory, I would have been 5-2-1. Yeah, and I'm on easy street.
But, yeah. So are we gonna amend all the? Yeah, it's what's also crazy to me is I'm pretty sure at 5-2-1, you qualify in day two. You can end day two with a losing record, right? You can technically end day two at 5-6-1.
Oh, because there's 4 rounds in day two. Yeah, you could.
Which is
insane.
Baffling it's baffling to me, right? At least in like having to be 6-2, right? You would end the tournament like what, at worst 6-6, right? You would be a 500 record, you'd be a winning record. But now you can end a tournament while making day two. It's crazy. And so, like, even then, like, placing and I mean, I come from swimming, and so, like, in swimming, a lot of times if you make finals, right, there's like an A final, which is the top 8, and then a B final of 9 through 16. If you in the B final, right, 9 through 16, if you swim faster than someone in the top 8, you don't get to be 8th, right? You're still 9th, no matter what. So it's like that same thing of, like, you can end the day 5-5 or 5-3. Let's just say 5-3, right? 5-3.
Well, no, you can't be 5-3.
Why can't you be 5-3?
Like people who don't make day two are 5-3.
People that don't make day two are 5-3, but they are a lower placement than someone who goes 5-6-1. And it's I don't know, it's just like, it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, man. But you could kind of say the same thing if I go 6-6, right? And you go 5-3 in a tournament, like, oh, I still had a better percentage than you. But anyways, I don't know. It's just weird that you can end a tournament now with a less than 500 record after multiple days. I don't know. We'll see if Pokemon, the most curious thing, I don't know if you noticed this in the link that I sent you, Sean, but so this is like a discussion thread. This is like a forum post on the Pokemon like forums. They have this post which describes all this, and then they have a comment section. And the comment section has always been closed. They have not allowed any comments whatsoever. They don't want any input. None of that stuff. So it's a very interesting time for Pokemon right now, but it is what it is, Sean.
Look, I think the I don't know if the problem will get solved, but like they'll keep making changes. I think it's not like the competitive scene is this massive cash cow that they have to abide by forever. Like, I think it's one of those things where, you know, maybe the tournament organizers make money, maybe they don't. They make enough to keep doing it, but I think they're very open to changes. I don't think it's going to be a stubborn thing, but this clearly isn't the change that was needed.
This is a step in a right direction, but was maybe not the response that players were expecting or hoping for. And again, if you love the idea of a lower point total making day two, all the power to you, right? I have no qualms with someone that's like, oh, now I have a better chance of making day two. Like you said, you know, Sean and I have a better chance now at our next event to get into day two. That's cool. But yeah, it's very interesting. But Sean, I asked you at the very beginning, Pokemon Pocket. I talked a little bit in last week's episode about Pokemon Pocket, more so the news, and I tried as much as possible in the episode to hold back a lot of my opinions on Pocket. So this is it. We're talking about the opinions now. Sean, I have heard that you've been a phenom of Pokemon Pocket, just a The true, if there's one of us that is a master in Pokemon Pocket, it is you. So Sean, give me the rundown of Pokemon Pocket, but also, you know, just give me like a topic. Give me the good, give me the bad, give me the ugly, give me the,
you know,
the
I'm gonna list
whatever.
I'm gonna list my accomplishments, kind of like my emblems.
Oh,
Right
your
now.
emblems. You're gonna flex on me.
I'm a flex on all the listeners a little bit. No, I certainly don't have everything in TCG Pocket, but what I do have, I have all three of the emblems to give you any idea of like the amount of time I've spent on it. So I have Pikachu, Mewtwo, and Charizard.
Okay, I was gonna ask what kind of emblems you have. So you have all three of those.
I have the three ones that, you know, are not the secret mission. I do not have the legendary bird trio emblem.
I don't even know what those are.
So
okay, continue.
So I have all the emblems. I've done all of the themed missions that are publicly like visible. And all of the events I have 100%ed. So the Meowth event, all the Wonder Pick stuff, I've done all that.
We'll talk about we'll give you more of a deep dive in case you don't know what those events are later.
Yeah. I mean, I can quickly. It's basically like you just Wonder Pick a bunch of times. There's Chansey cards available as the Wonder Pick. Then there's Meowth cards available. They're stamped.
Hold on, I'm gonna pull up the PokeBeach article of some of the stuff for our visual listeners.
Yeah, but basically, they're trying to get people to engage with one part of the app experience, which is the Wonder Pick system. Which it makes sense, right? From a design perspective, how do you launch a whole new service? Well, you have events themed around the three core parts of your app, right? Which are Wonder Picking, solo battling, and versus battling. So when it comes to the Wonder Pick event, I've completed that. I got all my tickets. I got all of the Meowth coin and the playmat and the sleeves. The only thing I haven't
sleeves look so good.
Oh yeah, and the coin is great, and the playmat is on. They're all great. The one thing that I didn't spend any money on from that theme is the shine dust, because I'm like,
when you say spend money, are you talking about like physical, real IRL money, or are you talking about currency within the game?
I'm talking about specifically the event tickets.
Okay,
for the Wonder Pick.
I just wanted to clarify that for anyone who was curious. Yeah.
No, that's fair. Yeah, there are like a billion different currencies in the game, and we can get into that.
And there's a billion ways to spend money as well. Like
right. But so I kept a lot of event tickets because I don't know if the future events, if those tickets will roll over. And you're
talking about the Meowth tickets, right?
Yes, the blue like little tickets. I don't know if those are going to roll over. My hope is that they do, and that I will have an inventory of those extras built up, so that like the more expensive things I can maybe get either more easily or whatever. So I did that. The Lapras event, and actually all of the solo events, even before the event, the solo step-up battles and expert battles, I have not only beaten them all, I have completed all of them to 100%. So all of the extra little challenges, I have like 4 copies of every promo from the Lapras solo event at least.
So for anyone who doesn't know, in this Lapras event, there's like CPU battles, right?
Yep.
And I think it's like every battle that you do, there's a random chance to get a promo pack, which has one of 5 cards. The heralded one, right? I guess you could call it like ultra rare, is the Lapras EX. There's only one EX in the pack, and it's a Lapras. The other cards are Butterfree, Pikachu, Clefairy, and Mankey. You may have heard of Mankey if you listen to any content creators, you know, like Andrew Mahone, Tricky Jim, or something like that, because Mankey's a hot topic. But anyways, that's what he's referring to.
Business. I'm all about that Mankey business. Yes, the Mankey slaps, literally.
I've heard that the Mankey's really good, but anyways, continue.
Yes. So yeah, I did that solo event, got that out of the way. It was a bit of a grind because some of it, to like actually 100% it, you have to wait for things to refill. So similar to current, there's like a currency that is a time-based currency in that one.
Yes.
That allows you to play that event every so often.
Yeah.
So
If you've played a lot of like gotcha kind of games, it's that similar stamina mechanic.
And then the last event is the versus event, where you're similar to just battling randos online. You're not battling the CPU, you're battling people. But this time, your battles are like tracked on a meter. So if you win one battle, you get like the small crown. If you win 5, you get this crown. If you win 25, you get the semi-great crown. And then if you win 45 battles within the window of time for the event, which I think is like quite a long time, actually. It's like
I think it's until the end of the month. I think it's like the 27th or something. That you have until November 28th to complete the event.
Yeah, you have plenty of time, but you know, any good grinder wants to get it done out of the way. Like, let's go, let's get this, because you want to flex those emblems.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I got my 45 wins. I got 50 wins actually, because there's a 50th win bonus of 2,000 shine dust.
Yes.
And so once you get 45, you're like, okay, well, 5 more wins, and I get 2,000. Sure, I'll get my 5 extra wins. So yeah, and so I got all of that already. So I'm in a weird spot right now, Jake, where I have no other events in the game that are meaningful, except for just continuing to play the Lapras solo event, because you still get packs even after you've beaten it. So like I can keep getting promo packs for more cards if I really want to add flair to some of the promos, because the more of the copies that you get of those promos, because that's the only way that you're going to get them, then you can add flair to those with those extra copies.
And flair is like, there's different effects that can happen like in battles, like some are sparkles. I think I saw like a water Pokemon flair that was like, it was like raindrops flashed or something when you played it down, or there's a couple different things, and I think you can do it with like just about any card.
Yeah, every single card that I've seen has the option for flair.
Yeah.
If you own a card, even a super rare one, you can, if you have a really, really rare one, like I'm talking like the golds or the immersive cards, you may be able to see all of the flair options available, even if you haven't unlocked the first flair. So like, I looked at like the gold Mewtwo, for instance. I was like, well, what would the flair for that be like if I had like extra gold Mewtwo's lying around? And yeah, there's some really cool effects that you get that when you play it, it does this little effect. And the only value is purely aesthetic. You get to see it, your opponent gets to see it, and when your opponent sees it, they know, oh wow, you have a lot of these cards, and you really are like, it's like a fancy Fortnite skin. That's all it is.
Yeah, it's what it is, but it's something to do with it, right? Like something to continue to grind towards, eventually do, so you don't just get bored. So, Sean, what do you feel like what's the reason that you just keep going back to it, right? Like, what inspired you in the first 2 weeks of, there's 3 weeks left in this battle event, and you've completed the whole thing. What about Pokemon Pocket has really got you hooked,
I will say there is an accessibility aspect that I do enjoy. Like, it's on my phone. It's accessible. I think the fact that it isn't a copy of the trading card game physically is a difference to me from the physical trading card, because like I could play TCG live, right?
Yeah, you could try to before it breaks,
Right.
Anyways,
the thing is, like, I don't play TCG live, and I'm like, well, why? They're both on the phone, right? They're both on my phone. I don't. So why do I do one versus the other? I think maybe because if I'm playing the TCG proper, I will choose a physical card manifestation of that. But with Pocket, there isn't a one-to-one alternative. And it is, to be frank, quicker, simpler, right? Like each battle is
is incredibly simple, and I'll get on that later.
Oh, I mean, yeah, there's some, I have some thoughts, but yeah, like it's very simple. But I think it's just accessibility, and the card art is gorgeous. Like there's no bones about that.
Yeah.
But I will say, once you've completed all the missions and everything, at this point, I'm only going in and checking in to get packs.
When your booster pack notification goes off on your phone, oh, you have a booster pack to open.
Right. Like outside of that now, I actually there is actually no reason for me to play the game, which is kind of weird. Like I could do verses like I was doing before, but I don't know. Like I did 50 battles already. I'm tired.
Question. Not in the battle event, but in the regular like versus category. Do you play on the beginner section or the competitive section?
I just put it on Trading Card Game Player mostly because
that's what it's called. Yeah. Trading Card Game Player.
I put it on that because, you know, anybody who makes a podcast about the trading card game, it's like, I feel like I was talking to my partner, actually. They were playing it in the car as we were driving, and they were just describing to me like what was going on in the game with the battle. And I was just like I couldn't even see the phone, but I was backseat piloting. And I'm like, oh, they put up Psyduck? Oh yeah, the headache, it stops you from using your supporters. Well, what else is on their field? And like you should do this and you should do that. I can't even see the screen, but I'm over here backseat, playing. So the fact that like I'm that deep into it where like I've played it enough and I know trading card games enough that like I don't even need to see the screen. I'm like Bobby Fishering this nonsense. I'm playing the games in my head. Do you know who Bobby Fischer is, Jake?
No, I have no idea. Not in the slightest. But your joke is funny nonetheless. I will laugh. Sure I will laugh with you.
The people who are really into chess will like it. He's like a chess grandmaster from back in the day that would play games against himself and play games in his mind.
Oh, no, I think I have heard about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I have heard about a chess player, because like visualization in chess is huge. Anyways.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Going back to Pokemon Pocket before I get too deep in the rabbit hole, I actually play on beginner. Fun fact, I exclusively play on beginner because do you know why?
Because you don't get paired against a bunch of Mewtwo, Lapras, like Misty decks, and
no, you still get paired against those because the real reason why I play on beginner is because there's no reward difference between the two when you win a battle. You get the same amount of rewards on beginner as you do against trading card game player. And so I would rather, no offense to all the Andys out there, I would rather play against some scrub Andy on beginner so that I can get my wins quicker and get my rewards faster and my level ups and my resources better because
Jake out here pub stomping for efficiency.
Do you want to know my honest opinion? I hate the battling in Pokemon Pocket.
All right.
I will acknowledge I do love that the battling is simple. I do love that it is an incredibly simplified version of the trading card game. Right, because the trading, I tried to teach one of my friends the other day that plays Union Arena, that plays One Piece, that plays Dragon Ball, right? I tried to teach them Pokemon the other day, and they were overwhelmed, right? Like there was so much going on because Pokemon is complex, right? Once you kind of play more, like you figure it out, right? But from a introductory perspective, Pocket is incredible. I think Pocket is like, the Pokemon Battle Academy things that we've talked about on the podcast the last couple of years that won all these awards. I think Pocket's like better than that in like introducing the card game and the simplified versions of how to play and what it is. I mean, even though like it is vastly different, you have an energy pool resource, but you can only attach one per turn. Which, by the way, is like the same rule in the regular game, but it's in a much simplified version of like, okay, there's this thing, and you don't have to think about getting energies in your hand or whatever, because you're just like, oh, it'll just come to me. So you can focus on everything else that's happening in the game. I like that there's not really boss's orders in the game or prime catcher or something. There's just kind of like an escape rope, that You know, I really like that cards are only 20 cards per deck. And I like that the games are kind of fast and how knockouts, you don't get any extra cards. It's just like a point and EXs are worth 2 points. Like, I think the battling is incredible. I just freaking hate it. Like, I hate it. I don't really enjoy battling in the game. And I think a lot of it comes down to I keep facing freaking coin flip decks. Coin flips, in my opinion, are insane in the game. Here's kind of how I think of it, because like, okay, Misty, for example, if you're active on Twitter or Instagram or social media in general, you have seen the meme where someone hits like 52 heads on a Misty or whatever. Have you seen that picture?
I haven't seen 52, but I've personally seen eight heads on a Misty.
Yeah, so like an absurd amount of heads, right? You are just as likely to hit tails on the first coin flip. But in my opinion, in the game, the upside to hitting heads outweighs the downside to hitting tails, right?
Yeah.
Like in the game, you play Misty, which is a trash card, right? Because if you flip tails, you don't get a supporter at all. It's just playing a card, and you wasted it. Yeah. And there's no Versus Seeker. There's no Eldegoss V. Do you remember that card? There's none of that in the game. So it should be a trash card. But the coin flips are so good hitting heads, whether that's extra damage, whether that's attaching extra energy. What other coin flip things are there? Paralysis.
I mean, I will say one of my favorite cards is Doug Trio. People are sleeping on Doug Trio.
Oh yeah, that's like you can't even like do damage to it in the next turn.
That's right, baby.
Like there's
That's
literally
how you beat Mewtwo.
Question: if you hit tails on Doug Trio, do you still do damage?
Oh yeah, you do the damage first.
Yeah,
but then you flip a coin afterwards.
I think coin flips effects in the game are insane, and it feels so bad when I'm playing Wheezing Arbok because I don't have Mewtwo's, I don't have Pikachu's, I don't have Charizard's, I don't have Blastoise, and guess what? I bought the Battle Pass, right? I put money in this game, and all I can play is Wheezing Arbok, and I lose because my opponent hits three heads on a Misty in the first turn of the game and attaches all three energies to an Articuno and then attacks my little 70 HP Pokemon, and I lose. And I didn't even get to play.
Yeah, look,
I think the battling is awful, and I hate it every time I do it.
I will say this. The battling is wildly unbalanced.
Yes.
But I don't know if the designers care.
No, I don't think they should. I don't think they should.
Here's the thing, right? Like, you want people to play, you want people to have fun. When you don't hit heads, it's really frustrating. When you do hit heads, it's super fun, to be honest. So I think we'll see in the next couple of sets, because, like, look, these things are easily changeable because it's digital. The cards will never exist in a physical format, as far as we know. So they can design a card, see how the game performs, and then tweak those designs in response of future cards.
I think also, gosh, I wish I had this somewhere. I saw like it was a report or like a statement or something about Pocket where they might change like a aspect of battling in the game in the future.
Sure.
Gosh, I wish.
Why not?
I wish that I had it to tell you about.
It's all digital. Every single digital only game client that I have ever heard of actively like does changes to the rules, changes to like cards, like errata in cards after the fact. Not without controversy sometimes, but like they just do. That's part of the reality of that. So, but I don't know if Pocket is ever going to be more than like a mildly competitive experience.
Mildly is putting it lightly,
right?
Or no, heavily.
I do think that there is. I do think there is a meta, and there is a thought process to doing well versus not.
Oh
But
yeah, I mean,
sometimes,
did you
to your
see
point,
that Ursaday content creator? She had a
oh yeah,
500 person play limitless online tournament of Pokemon Pocky. 500 people. That's crazy.
yeah. I mean, look, I think we'll see a lot more of that. I think people will have fun. Um, but yeah, the one thing I think they should change right now, going second
Going second's
is
insane.
it's insane. It's far and away the better way to play the game. The only deck that benefits from going first right now is Mewtwo
Yeah,
because you
because
get your Waltz out. Yeah, exactly.
for
Yeah,
anyone
you
who
get your
doesn't know, you play Gardevoir with Mewtwo EX, and so there's no rare candy, so you have to evolve twice.
yeah. So, until Rare Candy comes out, Mewtwo is the only deck that benefits from going first.
I hope they
Every
don't
other
add
deck,
rare candy.
they will.
I
They
hope
will,
they
Jake.
don't.
Rare Candy is one of those like quintessential cards
I hope
and
they don't.
items in all of Pokemon.
I hope they keep it
They-
out of it. I'm okay with
they-
Pokemon Breeder, right? Do you know old school
Yeah,
Pokemon
yeah.
Breeder?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm okay with Pokemon Breeder. I don't think I'm okay with rare candy in that game. I don't think so.
I mean, we'll see. It's a 20 card deck and it's a dead card in your hand otherwise. So, like, you'll have to make choices. If you take Rare Candy, do you not take Potion? Do you not take Retreat? Do you not take Sabrina? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But point being, I think that's the one thing I would change is that you should at least be able to attach energy going first, but I don't think you should be allowed to attack going first. I think
Correct.
I think that it was cool being able to be like when I first was playing the game and I realized when I Mistied, if I got energy on board with Misty, I can donk my opponent before they even have a chance to play.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, that definitely sucks. And I'm like, that was one rule change that they made out of the Wizards of the Coast era. Like, if you play old base to fossil, you can attack going first.
You can also play as many supporters as you want in a single turn, which is crazy. Anyways.
Yeah. And then the design team came back and said, we're going to change some things, and attacking going first was one of them. So let people attach their energy. Let that be the advantage to going first. But don't let them attack, especially if you're going to print cards like Misty, which I think are honestly like they're strong, but like for a game that's only mildly competitive, a coin flip mechanic is fine. It's annoying, but fine.
All right, let me talk about some good things in the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes,
because I like Pokemon Pocket. I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do. I think, especially at the beginning, right, when you first download it, I feel like they give you a really good amount of packs and the ability to open a good amount of packs to have an enjoyable beginning experience, right? Opening packs, it's fun. It's cool.
Yeah.
Don't believe anything that you see on the internet about the crimped packs being guaranteed. That's not real. It's false. It's fake. Don't believe it. All right. I just wanted to say that just in case anybody believed it. I don't want to see it in our official Discord server because it's not true. But
it's the modern day digital equivalent of pack weighing, except pack weighing is real with old packs.
Oh yeah. Pack weighing is so real. But anyways, I do think if you have never touched Pokemon cards before, and I have seen a ton of creators, right, outside of the Pokemon sphere in general. I have so many friends that, like play One Piece, right, and play Digimon or something. They don't play Pokemon. They've never played Pokemon before, but they've got Pocket and they're playing Pocket and we're talking about it in the One Piece Discord. Right. I think it's a really, really good introduction if you've never played Pokemon before. And I think it's really attention grabbing, right? Based on the number of packs that you get at the beginning, right? You can actually build decks, relatively nicely. I like that there's a good amount of trainers that are like in the store that you can use with your currency, right? The Professor's Oaks, which is a 2 of in every single deck, a Pokeball, which is a 2 of in every single deck, popular items that are very good in the game. You can just get there instead of, depending on the packs. I also Think that the pack timer is pretty good, right? Like opening up a pack per day is nice. It's refreshing. It keeps you in every day. Like I've played Pokemon Masters, which is a gacha game. Where it's your typical like gacha thing, like Genshin Impact or whatever. You roll, you spend your currency that you've been building up and you roll and you try to get specific characters, right? I think Pokemon doing a pack every single day is very generous for like kind of gacha games. I use air quotes for that, Sean, because you can't see me.
Yeah.
Air quotes. I think it's very generous. And also, I'll be transparent. I think I said this last week. I bought the battle pass because I said I was going to buy it in the first month, see how I felt about it, and then continue buying it or not continue buying it based on what happens. I think getting another pack is also really, really nice and pretty cool. By the way, I have the battle pass and I still don't have 2 Mewtwo's, unfortunately. And I keep opening Mewtwo. I'm just kidding. So I think the game gives. It definitely gives. I'm unlucky, but the game gives.
It's I have a mixed feeling. I think getting a pack a day baseline is a non-starter. Like you have to do that for a modern game because that is basically your login bonus.
It is. It is your login bonus.
Yeah. You want daily active users if you're making a game like this. If you offer 1 pack a day, because that's what most people do with Pokemon is collect. Offering 1 pack a day, I think, is actually the bare minimum for launching an app like this. So while it is nice, I don't think it is particularly generous. I think it is merely logical.
Right? I don't get crap for logging on to Pokemon TCG Live every day. I don't get anything. I don't even get anything for leveling up. And we haven't even talked about how Pokemon has deleted the premium pass on Pokemon TCG Live. That's a whole other conversation that we need to do a different day. But
I will say this. The premium pass on Pocket is good, especially if you think about it from a whole month, right?
Mm-hmm.
The cost of a pack is, I want to say like 50 cents, $1. I don't know exactly the numbers, but it's somewhere in that range. For $10, you get effectively 30 packs over the course of a month.
Yeah.
And that is the best value you're going to find. So if you are actually planning to play this game long term, you don't have to pay any money. But if you're going to spend any money on the game, I think the best investment is the $10 because not only do you get access to the premium stuff, but if you just do the math, you're getting 30 packs a month for $10. That seems it is the best deal in the game. Just full stop. It is.
Yeah, and so, you have the opportunity as well, like to get different rewards and stuff like that. And it's just, I think it's a pretty nice deal.
But I don't know what's our time looking like, Jake. I've got
we're at 53 minutes. 53 minutes. Keep going. I want you to keep going, Sean. I want to know everything that you want to talk about in Pocket because I think Pocket is super intriguing.
I've got a couple of thoughts. I think that I've opened a decent number of packs too.
Mm-hmm.
Just because you play enough and you get a lot of rewards. I'm like level 24 or 25 in the game.
Holy smokes.
So you open a lot of packs at that level. The one thing I will say is this. I don't know if Pokemon is implementing any sort of mercy rule. I don't believe they are. But for those of you who don't know, a mercy rule in a digital game, Hearthstone has this. When you open packs, if you open a certain number of packs without a hit, quote unquote, they program it so that you'll be guaranteed to hit every certain amount.
Oh.
And you can get more lucky than that, but it is a fail-safe where you like, hey, if the randomization engine doesn't reward you for long enough, we will ensure that you get something. I have no clue what that number is for Pokemon, how they're calculating it, if it even exists. But I will say there are some times that it feels like I will get like 2 or 3 packs in a row, which are like amazing. And then I will get like 10 packs in a row that have absolutely nothing, basically.
I do know that they have a pack opening like currency or like a dust currency where like if you I think it's like it's like
you
per
get five
pack.
per pack.
Yeah, 5 per pack, and then eventually you can exchange that currency for specific cards. I think that's their quote unquote mercy rule, is like some sort of like trade system for opening. Like you're guaranteed to get the 5 currency, right? And eventually you can get the 500 for Mewtwo or whatever, one single EX, I think it is. I think it's 500.
So here's the thing. If you do the math, right, 5 points a pack, and EX is 500 points. That means for every 100 packs, you're guaranteed 1 EX.
Yeah.
Now, you're not going to not pull an EX in 100 packs, but I can tell you, I have pulled 1 Mewtwo EX, Jake. It was in my very first pack. It was the gold Mewtwo EX.
Oh, so you're a baller.
That was my very first pack. After that, Jake, I have opened, I don't know the number, but I've opened a lot of Mewtwo packs. I have not pulled another Mewtwo EX.
Is there a stat on Pokemon Pocket of how many packs that you open?
Yes, there is. I don't know what my number
I have
is.
Pokemon Pocket open. How do I get there?
Well, if you go to your profile,
I have 527 owned cards. I do know that.
Hit your profile icon.
Okay.
And then you scroll down and you can see the little trophies.
Oh.
And the one on the top left will tell you how many packs you've opened. And
I've opened 91 booster packs. And I have 4 more to open as soon as this podcast is finished.
And now, Jake, I have a question for you, which is, do you feel like if you had opened 94 packs of real Pokemon cards versus the 94 you opened in this game, what is a better pull rate?
Oh, that's a good question. I did not expect this question. I think I would probably have better pull rates in 94 packs of physical cards. Mostly because there's a lot of different hits in Pokemon right now. Like there's Apex, there's the illustrations and stuff like that. Then there's the ultra rares, right? Like you can get like 17 hits in a box or something along those lines, like 15 or so hits.
You know what I would love to do, Jake? And this is maybe a thought. Let us know in the Discord if we should do a separate video on this. But I want to find a way to open a certain amount of money of packs, right? Like, so say it's like you have a budget of $100. What does $100 buy you in physical cards? And what does $100 get you in pocket packs? And then compare the hits for that same amount of money that you spent.
Okay. I might actually have an easy way for us to make that happen.
Okay.
We can talk later.
Okay. I think that would be a really interesting experiment though, because like, look, you can't sell pocket cards. So there's always going to be that disparity. But I do think that like, yes, you get packs for free over time, but time is still money, right? Like time is still valuable. So like, it's free, but like, come on.
We're probably not that far off actually from being able to sell Pokemon cards on Pocket, because not that it would be legal or allowed in any sense, but trading is coming to Pocket, and I can guarantee that you will see eBay listings for gold Mewtwo in Pokemon TCG Pocket, and so you pay someone money and they friend you on Pocket and then they trade you. And that is definitely against the rules. It is definitely not allowed, but it will happen.
Actually, Jake, I wanted to talk about 2 topics then to close out the pod about Pocket. One, I just want to update everybody to a rumor I heard about future Pocket sets.
Oh yeah, there was a data mine. There was a data mine about it.
So the rumor is that there will be a new mini set coming out in mid-December.
Mm-hmm.
And then another large set similar to the genetic Apex size in mid-January. And that the plan is to have 4 main sets and 4 mini sets every year. So take that for what you will, run with it, whatever. Like that's just something I just want to put that out there for people like wondering what's next. That's the current rumor mill. The second thing I wanted to mention, Jake, is that to your point, trading is not available in the game yet, but it will come soon. But I think that trading will be a like for like trade in terms of rarity.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think you have to do that on I think, is it Pokemon Go that you have to be in like
Maybe.
a certain amount of CP or whatever to trade specific Pokemon or something like that. There's rules on trading in Pokemon Go that I don't fully understand because I don't play that game every day, but that wouldn't surprise me. Your point of like you can only trade a 1-star for a 1-star or an immersive card for an immersive card, kind of thing.
Yeah. And I could even imagine like, because you don't want people opening up a bunch of burner accounts, getting all of the free packs, trading like for likes with themselves of whatever they don't have or have extras of that they want.
Mm-hmm.
So I could even see a system where not only do you have to do a like for like trade, but there's a new currency that's called like trade points.
Or like a stamina. In a sense,
Maybe, yeah,
a trade stamina,
exactly.
like wonder picking. You can only wonder pick
Yep.
X amount of times per day.
Yeah, and if you want to trade a gold card, it costs 5 stamina.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to trade, so for me, Jake, I think that's in my mind. If I were to implement trading in this kind of game to prevent bot
the
account
scenario
farming,
that I just mentioned.
yeah, and also, well, the scenario you mentioned about selling, I actually don't worry as much about that in this system because if it is like for like, that means you have to have a gold card to get a gold card, and I'm like, well, I mean, like, you could have a forum that facilitates trades with people you don't know, but like, it's kind of hard to sell people that because I'm like, well, I'm still trading a gold card. I still had to get the gold card.
If they do that kind of like for like, I can't wait to see the YouTube videos of people being like, I traded this common and eventually got an immersive card or whatever. I don't know if you'd be able to do that, but
but that's the thing. If you go like for like, then you can never trade up. You can only ever trade sideways. So commons can be traded for commons and so on.
Either way.
But
Pocket's a really interesting point. I'm still into Pocket and I'm still playing Pocket. And I'm a little pissed off about battling, so I'm not really logging on for a really long time every day right now. But
that's fair.
I probably just need to play a different deck. And we'll see. I need to grind out my wins, though. I only have like 7 wins right now. I don't play a lot, but I only have like 7 wins.
I'll say this. The battling part is particularly frustrating because it's very much pay to play almost.
Mm-hmm.
I know that sounds weird. I don't think it's pay to win because I do think that like once you have all the cards for a deck, it's a very random because there's a lot of coin flips, and so I don't think you can actually pay to win directly. But if you
it's
have
like every other
money,
card game, right? Yeah. It's like a normal card game where like you have to have the cards in order to play, but you have to know what you're doing in order to win most of the time, I guess. Some of my opponents don't know what they're doing, but they hit 4 heads on Misty and then they still win, and I lose my mind. Anyways.
Right. Yeah. But like I do think that the battling piece, like I will probably become very tired of it very quickly. Just because like to your point, it is very like coin flip based. I've been very frustrated in games where I'm like, I flip a tails on Misty, I Pokedex to look at the top 3, realize there's nothing else, and I'm just like, I'm just going to concede. Yeah,
I think that card's trash. I don't know why you play it.
I play it. I will say this:
I think the one that looks at your opponent's hand's better.
I will say, if you have a Pokeball and a research in your hand, and you have a Pokedex, it's actually really strong because you play the Pokedex, you see what the top cards are, and you decide whether or not you want to shuffle your deck with Pokeball or if you want to draw first.
I guess that makes sense.
Also, in theory, like if you have Pokemon on the bench and you're like, who should I attach the energy to? I can't attack right now. You can Pokedex and see, is the evolution for that Pokemon coming up?
That makes sense.
Or do I need to shuffle my... So it's not wildly strong, but it's like weirdly situationally strong.
Yeah, it's like a niche, like some other cards. Also, do you believe in the fossils?
No.
No, you don't believe in fossil play?
I mean, no, it's just
There's
why?
a lot of people out there that are fossil believers. I just
If they
wanted to get
didn't
that
give up
out of you.
If they didn't give up a point when they got knocked out, they'd be like, great. They'd be like little robo substitutes. But
Yeah. I think that's
they're
why they
not.
give up a point, Sean. Because
Yeah,
I don't
that's
think
the
Pokemon
thing.
wants to remake Robo Substitute.
I mean, like, look, Omastar is potentially really crazy, but you know, in a deck where you also have the choice between Articuno and Starmie, and that now the new Lapras, why would you ever play Omastar as your water Pokemon of choice?
I know. If I had any Articunos or Zapdos, or I do have at least one Lapras. I don't know if I have two. Hello, Kitty. But
Hi.
Anyways, Sean, do you have any other final words on the podcast, whether that's Pokemon Pocket or any topic of the sorts?
Stop friending people. Stop friending every single person you play on Pocket.
Oh my God, yeah. Can we? It was cool at first, but can we not do that anymore? I don't even give thanks to the people that hit like 4 heads. I don't even give thanks.
Yeah,
I'm petty.
I will say, like, just don't. If you friend your real friends, friend people that you meet online or whatever. But like, my approve inbox is really high, and like the problem is, I also don't know for the folks in the Discord that maybe have sent a friend request to us. If I don't know what your handle is and I haven't approved you, that's why. Because as far as I know, you're a random person that I played a game against, and I forgot that name. That's all.
It's crazy.
So,
Sean, Mr. Popular over here, gonna run out of his 99 friend slots if you don't send him a friend request soon. And you can find his friend code in our official Metapod Discord server in the show notes in the description below. Sean, thanks for getting on with me. I know you're busy. Appreciate you talking about Pokemon Pocket with me. For anyone else who wants to talk about Pocket or even post some of their polls, people have been posting their Pocket polls in the Discord server. It's been very cool to see all the different cards that I don't have in the game. But Sean, thank you so much for joining me. Thanks for listening to the Metapod, the Pokemon TCG podcast that revolves around the evolving meta. We'll talk about Surging Sparks decks soon, so do not worry. We're gathering up our favorite decks as we speak. I got a couple of cheeky ones that I want to show Sean, but I'm Jake, that's Sean. Have a great rest of the week. Just a real quick as well before we actually head out for the episode, talked a little bit more about Sean. If you couldn't tell, he's traveling a little bit right now, and so we worked out our schedule. Next week's episode is going to be a little bit later in the week. I think it's going to be around like a Wednesday release, not a Tuesday, just because of, schedule and stuff like that. But we still want to give you a episode, but we can't record on our usual day this next upcoming week, so we're going to record a little bit later, and so an episode will still come next week. It'll just be a little bit later. So again, thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoy the rest of your week.